Okay, so I've started the recording. Just let me check the chat. Yeah, so can you please unmute yourself, because you know, it's not it's unmute yourself and answer, because it's not becoming very convenient since I'm joined in from the phone to check the chats and discuss. So up till what stage would you call it as a early cervix, and where does locally advanced cervix starts?
Sir, till 1B1 it is called as an early stage cancer, and from 1B2 it is called as an it is considered as locally advanced disease.
Sir, till 1B2.
Yeah, so 1B from 1B2, and this 1B2 is a previous classification of 1B2, okay? Because now the newer classification of 1B2 that we talk about is the is less than 2, is more than equal to 2 centimeter and less than 4 centimeter. So that's not exactly locally advanced. So according to the newer classification, it might be 1B3, but as far as classical definition is concerned, from 1B2, so more than 4 centimeter in the greatest dimension, would be a your locally advanced. So what would be your treatment for 1B2 and 2A2? Again, 2A1 would again be an early case. Okay, can I see the slides? There are no slides. This is just a discussion. So again, 2A1 can still be called as an early disease because it's less than 4 centimeter. But from 2A2, it would again be a locally advanced case. Okay, so what would be the treatment for 1B2 and 2A2?
So definitive concurrent chemoradiotherapy followed by brachytherapy.
Your voice is not audible, but yes, you're right. Yeah, it would be definitive. So even in according to the NCCN, there is a and also according to the NCG guidelines, there is a role of radical hysterectomy in plus uh, with pelvic nodal dissection in 1B2 and 2A2 also, and also according to the also in like be it NCCN or the NCG guidelines, there is a role of radical hysterectomy and pelvic nodal dissection, and the other option would be radical RT plus concurrent chemotherapy. And your and for 2B or 3B beyond that, the treatment is essentially uh, radiation along with concurrent RT, right? So, what is the role of extended field RT? Yeah. So, what is the role of extended field RT? Can someone answer? Before going to extended field RT, so what are the evidences? What are the just 1 second, I need to mute everyone. Yeah. So, what are the evidences behind the treatment that we have discussed till now? Can someone tell me the trials that have been tried in carcinoma cervix that has decided upon the role of concurrent chemoradiation, the role of radiation, and surgery? So, can you all talk about the trials related to chemo RT?
Sir, RTOG 9001.
Yeah, go on.
Sir, for a chemoradiation.
Yeah, that is one trial.
Then, sir,
That is MODIS.
Sir?
That is MODIS et al. They are talking about RTOG 9001. That was
Yes,
MODIS et al. It came out. The initial paper came out in NEGM 1999, and the second one came out in 2004 in JCO. You're
Sir.
right. What are the other papers that you can talk about? The other
Sir,
names?
then Landoni et al. Landoni study
Okay.
that compared surgery with RT in early stage.
Okay. Any other?
So then the role of postoperative RT, GOG 109
No, no.
and
In
GOG.
let's talk about just chemo RT, not post-op RT. We'll
Uh,
come to post-op RT later.
so then Cochrane meta-analysis.
GOG trials.
Yeah. So just remember the few names, okay? I'll be taking some names after this. So just remember the names. These are some of the landmark trials that have established the role of CTRT in carcinoma cervix. Okay, the names are
Riddhi,
Morris.
just ask them if how many people they remember those 5 names. You know, anybody.
Yeah, the 5 names. The 5 names. Can someone tell me the 5 names?
Like Riddhi has already told Morris. Anybody else?
Rose et al, Eagles
Very
et al,
good.
Peters et al, Morris et al, and
Me et al.
Landau et al.
Peter et al.
Peters.
Yeah, so basically there's 5 names you have to remember: Morris, Key, Whitney, Peter, Rose. You know, so Morris, Key, Whitney, Peter, Rose. I mean, this is like a rhyme you have to remember. You know, Morris, Key, Whitney, Peter, Rose. Morris, Key, Whitney, Peter, Rose. In whichever way you remember, but we have to remember. Even in the night, somebody wakes me up, I have to just say this 5 names: Morris, Key, Whitney, Peter, Rose. In whichever order you can remember, but always Morris, Key, Whitney, Peter, Rose. Morris, Key, Whitney, Peter, Rose. That's the way. Keep on. I mean, so these are the 5 trials which really paved the way, which Dr. Riddhi was saying. Riddhi, you continue. Sorry, I'm interrupting between.
No, sir.
You know.
No, sir. This is very well appreciated, sir.
So just to go on, I mean, so this Morris, Key, Whitney, Peter, Rose, it tends to happen because these are such an important trial which really paved the way where the concurrent chemoradiation became an integral part of the treatment for locally advanced CA cervix. And it is so important that because of these 5 trials, like we are not going into the heterogeneity or the drawbacks of this trial, that we'll not discuss as of now, but these are the 5 trials which really paved the way where the chemotherapy became an integral part of the radiation along with radiation for locally advanced CA cervix. Okay. Yeah, Riddhi, you can continue.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Yes,
there.
sir. Yes, sir. So these 5. Yeah, so talking about these 5 trials, so in the first one was Morris et al, RTOG 9001, and Morris et al basically compared between RT versus RT plus chemo. You know, so they took around close to 400 patients of locally advanced carcinoma cervix, so locally advanced carcinoma cervix, and randomized between radiation, which was essentially extended field RT, versus whole pelvis RT plus brachytherapy with concurrent cisplatin and 5-FU. Okay, and they have this was the first trial that showed that chemo RT improves the overall survival, the disease-free survival, and the locoregional failures. So the one of the trial to show chemo RT is better than RT alone in carcinoma cervix was this Morris trial. Okay. Second, you need to remember about Rose, the GOG 120 trial, also known as the Rose trial. Again, initial paper came out in NEGM in 1999. Later on, an update was published in JCO in 2007. Again, close to 500 patients with locally advanced cervix, and they were randomized to. So what they did was they gave RT along with brachytherapy, but chemotherapy they wanted to find out what is the best what would be the best chemotherapy to give along with radiation. So they compared 3 regimens. So the first regimen was cisplatin, the second one was cisplatin 5-FU along with hydroxyurea, the third was hydroxyurea alone, and they found out that cisplatin arm was was better, and it improved survival over the other two arms with the most acceptable amount of toxicity. So that paved the way for cisplatin to be the standard uh, concurrent chemotherapy regimen, because in even in the previous trial that we talked about in MORES, their regimen was cisplatin with 5-FU. So after this trial, GOG 120 trial, cisplatin became the standard radiation, the standard concurrent chemotherapy. Coming to the Whitney et al. So Whitney again, it was GOG 85. So it was the GOG 85 or the SWOG 8695 intergroup trial. Again, 368 patients of locally advanced patients, and they compared between concurrent cisplatin 5-FU versus hydroxyurea. So again, Whitney et al. They also had brachytherapy along with the EBRT dose, and so cisplatin versus oral hydroxyurea, and obviously the response was better with the concurrent cisplatin. The toxicity was less than hydroxyurea, and the response was better with cisplatin. The Keys et al. Again, the Keys et al. Initial, also known as the GOG 123. It came out initially in NEJM 1999, and again here they compared between RT followed by adjuvant hysterectomy versus RT plus concurrent chemotherapy. So they tried RT followed by hysterectomy, so RT followed by adjuvant surgery, or RT plus concurrent chemotherapy, and they found out that chemo RT improves the survival. So no role of giving an RT followed by an adjuvant simple hysterectomy. The concurrent chemotherapy is good enough. Another name that you might come across is the NCIC trial or the PRC trial, and it came out in 2002 in the JCO, and there they took patients, 353 patients of stage 1A and 2A more than 5 centimeter, or 2B, and randomized to whole pelvis RT with brachytherapy versus RT plus cisplatin. And that this was one of the negative trial. We do not talk about this trial because it was a negative trial. So this particular paper, this particular trial showed that the outcome between CTRT and RT is same. There was no improvement with CTRT. So this was one of the negative trials. If someone asks you, otherwise the other trials, Keys, Whitney, Morris, Rose, they were the positive trials that paved the way for concurrent chemotherapy in carcinoma cervix.
Excuse me, sir. Can you please repeat the last trial, sir? There is a disturbance.
Last trial is the NCIC POC trial, PEARCEY, POC, NCIC. Okay, so this was a negative trial. The other one showed improvement with concurrent chemotherapy. Rose trial wasn't exactly. Rose trial was a bit different. So Rose, remember Rose, what was a bit different. Rose, also known as GOG 120, they just tried between different regimens, and they found out that cisplatin is better than cisplatin with 5-FU with hydroxyurea, and versus. So there were 3 arms. One arm was cisplatin, second one was cisplatin 5-FU hydroxyurea. A third arm was only hydroxyurea. So cisplatin was better than the other 2 arms. So Rose trial just compared between 3 chemotherapy regimens. The Whitney trial, also known as the GOG 85, they compared between cisplatin and oral hydroxyurea. Obviously, cisplatin was better. Keys trial, they compared between RT followed by simple hysterectomy versus CTRT. And obviously, they showed that CTRT is better than RT alone. So, hello, yeah. Can't hear you. Can you be a bit more loud? Hello.
So regarding Peter et al.
Peter et al. Yeah, Peter et al. So Peter et al. is GOG 109. It came out in JCO 2000, and then again in gynecological oncology 2005. So it had around 243 patients. So radical hysterectomy with 1A to 1B, 2A with lymph nodes positive, margin positive, or parameter positive. They tried with, so basically they took patients with some high risk features, and those high risk features were lymph node positive, positive margin, or positive parametrium. And then they compared between RT versus RT plus chemotherapy. Just remember the chemotherapy that they had. The chemotherapy that they had was cisplatin and 5-FU, and it was shown that cisplatin, so chemotherapy, post-op chemotherapy was better in terms of improved 4-year PFS and also overall survival. So Peter et al. Was a post-op chemo RT trial, and like we have been discussing in the last class, so like we've been discussing in the last class, there are some indications for post-operative RT and post-operative chemo RT. So what are the indications for post-op chemo RT?
Positive parametrium, positive lymph nodes, and
Yeah. So
positive
yeah.
margin.
So yeah. So positive nodes, positive margin, and positive parametrium. Right? Positive surgical margin, positive nodes, positive parametrium. These are the three indications for EBRT plus concurrent chemoradiation. So this is the Peter trial is the one. Just 1 second, I need to mute everyone. Yeah, hello. Yeah. So this is a trial that so Peter et al. Is a trial that paved the way for chemo RT in a post-operative setting, in an adjuvant setting. So node positive, surgical margin positive, and parametric positive. Again, so they took patients who underwent surgery, and with patients having these three risk factors, either positive margin or lymph node margin, positive lymph node or positive margin or parametrium positive, and they randomized between whole pelvic RT versus RT with cisplatin and cisplatin 5-FU and chemo RT, post-op with chemo RT improved PFS as well as the overall survival. And hence, these three are the indications for post-op RT. And that there again comes the role of the Sedlis et al. Okay, the Sedlis et al. Is GOG 92, and Sedlis et al. Essentially talked about the they tried post-op RT. So patients with bulky 1B treated with radical hysterectomy with negative margins and negative lymph node, but more than equal to 2 positive factors. So 2 or more positive factors out of the 3 so more 2 or more positive factors out of these 3. What 3? First one is LVSI positive. The second one is more than 1/3 stromal invasion, and the third one is more than 4 centimeter tumor. So if any 2 or more of these 3 are present, then we call it as a positive Sedlis criteria. This is again different from what we talked about in the last class. So the Sedlis criteria has been modified in by as per the NCCN, and this is what I talked about in the last class. I will repeat that again for your understanding. But the original set list criteria is any two of the three factors. So first one is more than 4 centimeter tumor, brief stromal invasion, that is more than 1/3 of stromal invasion, and LVSI positive. So if any two of these three are positive, then that that gives you the role of adjuvant RT after a surgery.
Okay, so Riddhi, hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so now I am like one of the student sitting along with my other colleagues over here, and you are my teacher. So just I'll repeat what you said. You said, I mean, this is for everybody can just recall and recollect. So you said the indication of post-operative RT. First, you said three points what you told. One is either it is a margin positive, or it is a node positive, or it is a parametrium positive. So whether margin positive or node positive or parametrium positive, if even if any one is there, I will be giving radiation. Okay, and this
Yes,
will be called as a high risk feature because either margin or node or parametrium. So margin, node or parametrium, any one is positive, I will give radiation. I'm just recalling whatever you have said. I'm not teaching anything. I'm just recalling for
yes,
on
sir.
behalf of
Yes.
everybody. Okay. And the next thing what you told, it is the Sedley's criteria.
Sedley's
Now
criteria.
Sedley's criteria, it comes from the Gynec Oncology, which was published in 1999, and this basically it's a criteria in which three factors are taken. One is lymphovascular LVSI, that is lymphovascular space invasion.
Yes, invasion.
Then is deep stromal invasion, and the third thing is a tumor size. Now tumor size, so if lymphovascular LVSI is positive, or deep stromal invasion is positive, or if tumor size is more than 4 centimeter, either of these three, if any two are present, then I'll give radiation. Am I right? So this is what
Yes,
you
sir.
told?
Yes, sir. And this would be called as
Okay.
an intermediate
Sir,
risk
excuse
feature.
me, sir. Positive lymph node, positive margin, and positive parameter. Any one of it, if it is there, isn't it CTRT, not only RT?
Yes,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
CTRT.
Of course, CTRT. So no,
CTRT.
I'm just actually I did not go into the chemo part. I'm just saying indication now. That will be obviously it will be a CTRT. I'm just recalling that the indications of RT, and of course high risk features will mandate it to be a CTRT. No doubt about it. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
And regarding the 5 trials, what Riddhi has just quoted, along with the PRC trial, I have already posted into the both radiation onco seminars and radiation onco seminars 2 as a tabulated form. You can just have a look. So in one look, you can get the differences. Okay. One
Yes,
slide
sir.
I posted it. Okay. Okay,
Yes, sir.
fine.
Thank you, sir.
Please continue.
So is it clear what we discussed just now, or do I need to repeat any of it?
Riddhi, you don't repeat. You ask
Yeah, I'll ask someone to repeat.
anybody to repeat. Anyone, you know.
Can someone repeat? Just briefly tell me about.
Okay,
the-
Riddhi, you do. I'll select a person who can just from the there is Akshaya. Akshaya is there.
Yes, sir.
Akshaya, please repeat. You know, I'm just randomly I'm picking up anybody's name. You know. Okay, so Akshaya, please repeat. What did Riddhi say?
Positive parametrium, positive node, and positive margin are all indications for concurrent chemoradiation based on Peters criteria. If these three
Correct.
factors are all negative, and then we go in for applying the Sedley's criteria, which is like 2 out of 3 positive indication for only RT, 4 centimeter LVSA and deep stromal invasion.
Yeah. I think Riddhi, you should stop the class and take rest because they know much more. You know. So
Yes, sir.
at least I
They do.
think I should take rest now.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you so much, Akshaya. Thank you.
No, sir.
Thank you,
He
sir.
explained so well, we remembered it nicely.
Thank you so much, Akshaya. Thank you. Okay, continue. Continue,
Dr.
Riddhi.
Taruni is here. Dr. Taruni, good evening. I didn't see you join.
Yes, good evening, sir. I didn't get the message till now. Yes, sir.
So is that all right? So do we move on?
So can I add, sir? Yesterday, I think it was corrected by Vibhay, sir, that all 2 out of 3 was not for that.
No. I corrected that. I corrected.
Okay,
It
yes,
wasn't
sir.
correct. Yeah. So the 2 out of 3 is the original set list criteria. What I was talking about yesterday was the set list criteria that is given in the NCCN. So even now we in TMH, so it is like for in Indian scenario we do consider the 2 out of 3 criteria, that is more than 4 centimeter, the deep stromal invasion, and the LVSI positive. So any 2 out of 3 would be an indication for adjuvant pelvic RT. But what is given in the NCCN, and you should also remember that criteria, it's a bit more complex, and that is when you if the LVSI is positive and you have the deep 1/3 a deep 1/3 invasion, stromal invasion, then you do not need to consider the size criteria. Any drew of it you would go ahead and give radiation. Okay, if the LVSI is positive and the middle 1/3 is involved, so your size criteria would be more than or equal to 2 centimeter. That would give you an indication for radiation. If the LVSI is positive and only superficial 1/3 is involved, so deep stromal invasion is not there, then your size will have to be more than 5 centimeter to give radiation, right? So there is no 2 or 3. It's a different criteria altogether. So even if you do not have stromal invasion, but your LVSI is positive, sorry, if you do not have deep stromal invasion, only superficial 1/3 is involved, your LVSI is positive, and your size is more than 5 centimeter, you would still go ahead and give radiation. So this also becomes an indication for adjuvant RT plus minus concurrent chemo. And even if your LVSI is negative, but your middle or deep 1/3 is involved, then you would give radiation if your size is more than 4 centimeter. Got it? Are you clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is what I was talking about as far the indication of radiation is concerned in according to the NCCN guidelines. So this is, and I also posted this criteria, set list criteria in the group after the last discussion. Might have seen it. So I posted it in the group also. So LVSI positive and LVSI negative, the criteria is different. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So moving on to the extended pelvic RT. So is there any role of extended field RT in carcinoma cervix? And are there any any evidences behind extended field RT? So when do you give extended field RT in as far as your treatment protocol is concerned? What are the indications of external field RT or para-aortic nodal irradiation for that matter? What are the indications for a para-aortic node? Do you give it prophylactically, or do you give it only if there are positive para-aortic nodes clinically?
It is given only when there is a para-aortic node involvement.
Yeah, it is given only if there is para-aortic nodal involvement. So there is no role of prophylactic para-aortic node. Are there any evidences for that? Okay, so like coming to the evidences for extended field RT, the first one is the RTOG 7920, Rotman et al. Okay, the paper came in 1995, and they have tried giving uh, patients with or without clinically involved para-aortic node, and they were randomized to whole pelvis RT versus extended field RT. So sorry, the patients without clinically involved paraortic nodes, and they randomized between whole pelvis RT and external feed RT. And the external feed RT, as per this trial, improved the 10-year OS, but there was no difference in the locoregional control, and there was not much difference in the distant metastasis. But toxicity was double of what was the toxicity in case of in case of just whole pelvis RT. So this is the Rotman trial that showed that uh, giving an extended field RT might be beneficial beneficial for paraortic for patients without involved clinically involved paraortic nodes. Okay, and again by the uh, retrospective analysis by Vargo et al. So this is the second evidence that I'm talking about. So first one is Rotman et al. That came out in JAMA 1995, RTOG 7920. That although it said that extended field RT can be given and it might be associated with an improved OS, but we do not do that. So the first one is 7920 at Rotman et al. JAMA 1995. The second one is Vargo et al. Vargo et al. It's a retrospective analysis, and it came out in IGRO BP 20 in 2014. Okay, so in 2014, and there they retrospectively analyzed 61 patients with so these patients were with a PET avid pelvic lymph node. So patients with only positive pelvic lymph nodes, and they were treated with external field RT with concurrent boost to the involved nodes. And it was shown that the external field RT was a well tolerated. So they did IMRT for the external. So they did an IMRT for the paraortic nodes, and they showed that if you are giving an IMRT boost to the paraortic nodes, it would be a well tolerated regimen with low regional recurrences. So the initial first one that came out in 1995 by Rotman, that was they have tried a conventional technique, and they just increased the superior margin, and they gave a conventional radiation to the paraortic nodes, and there was and the toxicity was almost double. But Vargo et al. They tried an IMRT boost, so external field IMRT was tried, and they showed that it is well tolerated with low regional recurrence. However, there was this another trial, recent most trial. So it was about prophylactic extended field RT with concurrent chemotherapy for pelvic node positive cervical cancer. So this particular trial, the third one that I'm talking about, it came out in 2017. Okay, just note it down. It came out in 2017 in the Radiation Oncology Journal. So ROJ. It is the O et al. O et al. The scientist known as Jinju O. He tried. So what he tried was he tried prophylactic external field RT with concurrent chemotherapy for pelvic node positive cervical cancers only. So took 126 patients ranging from stage 1B to 4A with only pelvic node involved on MRI, and they were randomized between whole pelvis RT versus plus chemotherapy. Chemotherapy was in both arms. So whole pelvis RT plus chemotherapy versus external field RT plus chemotherapy. And so it was so the conclusion was that so prophylactic RT for palliative for paraortic lymph node doesn't have any additional benefit in patients with positive pelvic nodal carcinoma cervix. So this particular trial was basically a negative trial and showed that adding extended field RT was in prophylactically in absence of any para-aortic node is not beneficial over whole pelvis RT alone.
So what was the technique used, IMRT or?
In this trial, I think that the technique used was a technique was just extended field. It wasn't IMRT. This is a particular trial that I'm talking about. IMRT was used in the Vargo et al. I'm not sure about the O et al. I need to check if the technique used was IMRT, but in Vargo et al. There was the technique used was an extended field IMRT. You guys are having a separate class for field borders. Did you have that class for field borders in pelvis?
Not it, sir.
Not for pelvis, sir.
Okay, so I will not be talking about the borders. Will not go into details of the borders because there'll be a separate class. Just briefly, so your superior border for a superior border for your for para-aortic lymph node would be at the level of renal hilum whenever you're giving an extended field RT, and the vertebral levels will be around T12 to L1. Other things I will not talk about. That will be talked in the classes. So just for the superior, just for the case of palliative, but just for the sake of palliative RT, your superior border will be at the level of T12 to L1 or at the level of the renal hilum. Your anterior border would be 2 centimeters in front of the vertebral bodies. Your posterior border would bisect the mid-vertebral body. Mostly it is just treated with a AP and PA field. But if you're giving a lateral field, your anterior border would be 2 centimeters in front of the vertebral bodies, and your posterior border would be bisecting the mid-vertebral body. Inferior border again it depends. You can give a separate para-aortic field, or you can just extend your pelvic field. But again, extending a pelvic field will be associated with a lot of with larger amount of toxicity.
Sir?
Yeah.
I have a doubt.
Yeah,
Sir,
please ask.
this concurrent chemoradiation trials, which we were all speaking about, that Cochrane meta-analysis was meta-analysis that was including all these 5 trials, no, sir?
The Cochrane meta-analysis. I need to check the Cochrane. I need to check if all the 5 trials were involved, because.
So I think all these 5 trials were included in NCI alert, sir. It was NCI alert where all these
Yeah.
5 were included.
It's all from the NCI alert.
Okay, sir.
Hello. Yeah, the NCI alert it came out in 2001. I'm not sure if all the 5 trials were involved, and I need to check and get back to you.
So the Cochrane meta-analysis include 13 trials.
Yeah, the Cochrane meta-analysis was different. It wasn't.
Not this NCI alert, so that is a different trial.
The NCI meta-analysis, the NCI alert meta-analysis was a systemic review that came out in 2001, as far as I remember, and there were around close to some 5,000 patients, and it was there was a so the essentially the interpretation was that a concomitant chemotherapy and radiation improved overall survival and the progression-free survival, and reduced the local and distant recurrence in selected patients. And you need to read the full paper to see what all trials were involved were included in it. So the NCA alert was by Green et al. Dr. John A. Green did the meta-analysis. Okay, so yeah, are there any evidence? Is there any role of sentinel lymph node biopsy in cancer cervix?
Yes, sir.
What is it? Sentinel lymph node biopsy. Can you tell? And also, can you cite any evidences for sentinel lymph node biopsy?
Senticol trial, sir. That is one in which they have given where both technetium as well as methylene blue dye were injected, and then mapping was done.
Yeah, yeah. The Senticol trial was done with 145 patients, and so they did inject both technetium uh, and the dye, and it was found out that the false negative results in the Senticol trial was more or less favorable. So initially, other trials have shown that the false negativity of of sentinel lymph node biopsy in carcinoma cervix is pretty high, in the range of 20%. You know, but at the same time, sentinel lymph node biopsy has a role in carcinoma cervix as far as aborting surgery is concerned. You know, so if you do a sentinel lymph node biopsy and it comes out to be positive, then that is a very good good decision maker as far as your abortion. For uh, abandoning your surgery and going ahead with concurrent chemoradiation instead. So that is when your sentinel lymph node biopsy comes in. Also, before the advent of PET-CT, there was also this concept of doing a laparoscopic pelvic lymph nodal dissection before going ahead with treatment. So there was a role of doing a laparoscopy and pelvic nodal assessment. But then again, it was also associated with high level of toxicity. So that was again abandoned as a process. And again, after the advent of PET-CT, that wasn't required anymore to assess. However, there was a role of sentinel lymph node biopsy. It is usually not done in many centers, but would be a good marker to decide if you need to go ahead with concurrent chemoradiation instead. And again, in the Senticol study, it was the Senticol study also said that the the that sentinel lymph node biopsy would be reliable only when sentinel lymph nodes are detected bilaterally. So if you are doing a sentinel lymph node biopsy by using dye as well as a technetium 99, but you find out the sentinel lymph nodes are only the sentinel lymph nodes, you find out the lymph nodes that take up those dye are only situated only unilaterally, then you cannot rely on on a sentinel lymph node. But if you find out the sentinel lymph nodes that the lymph nodes on bilateral sides have taken up the dye and the technetium 99, then that sentinel lymph node biopsy would be much more reliable. That was a finding of the Senticol study itself. Any other doubt so far?
Are we supposed to know about IPD meta-analysis?
What is the IPD meta-analysis? Can you tell us?
Sir, based on the IPD, individual patient data was analyzed based on it is not just 13 studies, but exact number of studies in that I was not I cannot quote, but it compared stage-wise benefit of chemotherapy was analyzed, and individually patients were all matched from all the studies, and that showed benefit of chemotherapy with each stage.
Yeah, go on.
Like in early stage, like stage 2, the benefit of chemotherapy was around 7%, and in stage 3 it was 3%, and in stage 4 it was even less. Stage 4A, I mean stage 4A. This was according to the previous staging of CS cervix FIGO, previous FIGO.
Yeah, and what did they conclude?
That as the stage increases, when stage 3 and on, then completion of all the 5 cycles of chemotherapy in stage 3B, like hydronephrosis, keeping hydronephrosis and renal functions in the parameter, the benefit of cisplatin was only 3%. So that is the should be really considered chemotherapy in those settings was the this thing, sir, was that.
Yeah. So they took patients from eight RCTs and 3 cohort studies, right?
Yes, sir.
That they took patients from 8 RCTs and around 8 RCTs and 3 cohort studies, and around
Yes, sir.
2,000 patients were included.
Yes, sir.
It was done from Canada. That's the trial you're talking about, right? Ling
Yes,
et
sir.
al.
Yes.
Any other doubt?
Sir, when do we use the midline block in carcinoma cervix? Sir, can you please explain?
Midline block in carcinoma cervix is used for parametrial boost. It has been tried in many studies that whenever you have a residual parametrium or a bulky parametrial disease, so you have to, so anyway you're giving an intracavitary brachytherapy to treat the cervical part of the disease. So if you have a bulky disease laterally, you can always use an intracavitary. So you can use along with your EBRT, you can give some extra radiation. For example, you can give around 9 gray 5 fractions of boost to the parametrium. So you give EBRT followed by boost parametrial boost, and along with that you can give ICRT. So essentially, when the role of your midline block is to decrease the toxicity to the bladder and the bowel and the rectum, because you'll be anyway treating the central part of the disease with an ICRT. So you would go ahead with a midline block boost to the parametrium.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So parametrial boost will be given only when there is lateral parametrial disease remaining now, sir, because ICBT will anyway deliver sufficient amount of radiation to the medial parametrium.
Yeah. So it will be decided. See, first of all, so like we discussed, so you can interdigitate your ICRT as early as the second week, as far as the ABS guidelines. But usually it is not done, because usually when you were treating a disease, you have a cervical cancer, you have your parametriums involved. So even if you are treating, even if you start your ICRT early, that wouldn't be something which would be much desirable, because you will be having a residual parametrial disease. That is the reason we do not interdigitate most often, because even sometimes when we see that after even after 3 weeks, if you do examine the patients, your parametrial in the disease has not subsided completely. So you treat with ICRT only when your parametrium is completely reduced. So you only have a disease that is left over in the central cervix, and that is when you treat it with ICRT to treat the rest to boost the cervical region. So if anywhere after the end of your radiation, if you have not planned for a parametrial boost, so which you usually don't do. We usually do not use a midline block and give parametrial boost. We just give a 50 gray radiation. Several trials have tried parametrial boost by giving the whole pelvis to a dose of 45 gray and in 25 fractions, followed by a boost to the 9 gray boost to the parametrium. But usually what we do is that if we give 45 to 50 gray of radiation, and after that if you see that there are a residual parametrial disease, so parametrium has not gone completely, so then that would be an indication for your interstitial brachytherapy. So instead of doing an ICRT, would go ahead with interstitial brachytherapy
Yes.
with needles in the parametrium, so to treat the parametrial region completely.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any study that has established the role of IMRT in carcinoma cervix?
Yeah.
Can someone tell me the studies that has said that IMRT would so in what way do you think that IMRT would be beneficial in carcinoma cervix?
Only in boost maybe for
Okay, so several trials have been there, several studies have been there to study the role of IMRT. Okay, the advantages would be definitely it would be lesser toxicity, and also like you said, it would, if you want to give a boost to the parametrium, the boost to the para-aortic nodes, there again the role of IMRT would come. But there are other advantages also. So that would include your genitourinary toxicity, obviously, but several. So one study was done that tried for bone marrow sparing IMRT. So that would give you a hematological advantage in carcinoma cervix. And then again, some studies were done to check for the quality of life, and some quality of life results were also seen. So this one study was one second. I would share my screen so they can show you. Would be better. No, I'm sorry, I can't share my screen. I'm kind of connected from my phone. So this study, so there is a study by Alexander J. Lin et al. Okay, it came out in IGROBP in 2019. Lin et al. So they have tried intensity modulated radiation therapy and image guided adapted brachytherapy. So they have tried for IGBT and IMRT for carcinoma cervix. So it's a retrospective analysis, and but some of the advantages of this study was that it had a very large number of patients. PET-CT simulation was done. It included both IMRT as well as image guided brachytherapy, and the follow-up was pretty long. It had a long follow-up of 5 years, and they concluded that in absence of randomized data comparing 2D EBRT and brachytherapy with IMRT and 3D image guided brachytherapy technique. This suggests that the evolution of radiation delivery has improved survival while reducing toxicity for locally advanced cancer cervix. There was no it wasn't a head-to-head comparative study, but still they have showed that as compared to the historical controls, they were trying for an IMRT along with image-guided brachytherapy, the toxicity is significantly reduced. Again, another trial by Lin et al. For intensity modulated radiation therapy as a definitive treatment. It was a meta-analysis that came out in 2018. So Lin et al. Came out with another meta-analysis in 2018 in radiation oncology. So they again in that meta-analysis they compared. In this particular meta-analysis, they did compare between IMRT and other 3D-CRT or 2D-RT techniques, and they concluded that IMRT and conventional RT demonstrated equivalent efficacy. So as far as the 3-year OS and DFS was concerned, there was no difference between the 3-year OS and DFS, but it significantly reduced acute GI and GU toxicities, as well as chronic genitourinary toxicity. And like I talked about the bone marrow sparing IMRT. So bone marrow sparing IMRT, just remember the name. The name of the trial was Intertech 2. So Intertech 2 trial, it was again by Male et al. So Male et al. Tried for bone marrow sparing IMRT with a dose distribution sparing the bone marrow, and they have shown that there is a significant lower incidence of grade 3 neutropenia. So it was statistically significant. The incidence of grade 3 or more neutropenia and grade 3 or more leukopenia and other hematological toxicities. So neutropenia was statistically significant, but leukopenia or any other grade 3 or more hematological toxicity that wasn't statistically significant. But grade 3 or more neutropenia was statistically significant in this study. So again, so they tried for this was a phase 2 study. So they tried for a phase 3 study, which was named as
I'm saying your mama. I'm not going to say phone.
So again, they did a phase 3 analysis of a phase 3 study of image guided bone marrow sparing IMRT, and this was named as Intertech 3. So the last one was Intertech 2, and this one is Intertech 3. The spelling I'm telling you, it is INTERTECC. Intertech 3 trial. So the Intertech 3 trial was again done by Mel et al. And they just one second. Yeah. So again, they tried for their objective was to give a pelvic marrow dose and to less than 27 gray. The mean dose for pelvic marrow and active marrow would be less than 28.5 gray. So around 415 women were with the 415 women will be enrolled to determine the role, and the results, as far as I know, has not come out yet. They have just presented a protocol for. They have I think they have tried. They have presented a protocol. It's an ongoing study at Intertech 3. The results are not out yet, however, they have published a protocol, and the protocol said that the planning objective would be to irradiate the pelvic marrow to a dose less than 27 Gray. And lastly, the QOL study that was again by Klopp et al. The Klopp et al. QOL study, patient reported toxicity during pelvic intensity modulated radiation therapy. It was a study by the NRG Oncology and the RTOG group, also known as the RTOG 1203, Klopp et al. Another study from another Indian study was also done that compared between the quality of life. It came out from the TMH, and it was published in the year 2018. So Mohanty et al. So Sarthak Kumar Mohanty was the principal investigator of the study, and they again compared the outcome of the quality of life outcome after IMRT versus CRT for cervical cancer. So Klopp et al. And Mohanty et al. Would be your the quality of life evidences in IMRT of carcinoma cervix. Conclusion was again in both the studies. The conclusion was that pelvic IMRT was associated with significant less GI and urinary toxicity, and even it has the quality of life in several domains such as emotional, pain, fatigue, nausea, vomiting, insomnia, appetite loss, diarrhea scores. They were better with IMRT. Yeah. So any doubt till now? Any other questions? The trial, the trial on Dr. Jerome, the trial on a sentinel lymph node biopsy is Senticol. It is SENTICOL, Senticol study. Yes. So any other doubt as far as the evidences and treatment is concerned? I don't think we have anything else to discuss.
Excuse me, sir.
So yeah.
Sir, recently actually my friend gave actually the practical exam, MD exam, and the examiner asked him, is there any evidence regarding the this brachytherapy, the brachytherapy followed by EBRT in cervical cancer? Because we have this chemoradiation, we have all the evidences, but what was the evidence you go for brachytherapy followed by EBRT? EBRT followed by brachytherapy. Yes, sir.
No, I'm not aware of any. I'm not even aware of any study for brachytherapy.
Because in the textbook only the comparison was done for alternatives, that is for SBRT and the EBRT boost, the alternative to the brachytherapy. But how the EBRT followed by brachytherapy was came into act.
I'm not clear. So are you talking about brachytherapy followed by EBRT or EBRT followed? So
No, sir.
I don't think that
Brachytherapy followed by EBRT.
so you would give brachytherapy first followed by EBRT. I'm not sure.
No,
I'm not
sir.
sure.
First EBRT, then brachytherapy. The standard
Yeah.
treatment. How the what was the evidence, sir?
Okay. So the evidence of how basically your brachytherapy came into being. I'm not sure. I'm
Yes,
not
sir.
sure about that. I'm not sure about that. It's just so if you check into the trials, even the initial most studies had back in the 1990s. Also, the studies were included EBRT followed by low dose red brachytherapy. Even Landoni et al.
Yes,
That
sir.
came out back in 1997. Even
Yes, sir.
Landoni et al. Had a LDR brachytherapy
Yes, sir.
to a dose of 76 grade 2.8. So
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know if I'm not aware of any studies before that that had established the role of EBRT followed by brachytherapy. I think it was just done empirically, as far as I know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Can someone answer why do we need to include brachytherapy? Why do we include brachytherapy in the regimen? What is the exact role of brachytherapy for treating cancers, carcinoma cervix? Why can't we give the yeah?
Because it was for dose for tumor control probability, it was observed that greater radiation dose to the cancer volume was helpful, so basically to escalate the dose.
Yeah, so the amount of dose that we are the reason. One second. I'm getting it over here.
Can you please mute?
Yeah, just 1 second. I'm trying. Using my phone, it's becoming very. Just 1 second. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, the amount of dose that you need to give to for obliterating all the tumor cells as far as your carcinoma cervix is concerned, even after adding chemotherapy to your radiation, that amount of dose, if you're trying to give it with that amount of dose, even if you're trying to give it with EBRT, your bladder and bowel toxicity would be very high. So that's why we're able to give the amount of dose that is required. So you need the LDR equivalent is close to 80 to 85 gray, right? And for advanced disease, it will be 85 to 90 gray. So it's essentially not possible to give 90 gray or 85 gray to the pelvis by virtue of EBRT, even if you're using an IMRT. So even IMRT has been tried. IMRT boost has been tried, but the but IMRT isn't as conformal as an ICRT. So what are so how would you so what would be your what are the dose prescriptions that you follow for so what all uh, combinations do you follow for treating carcinoma cervix? EBRT plus ICRT dose.
So it's 50.4 gray over 28 fractions, 1 fraction per day, 5 fractions per week, followed by 3 fractions of brachytherapy of 7 gray each, given weekly.
Yeah, so always mention HDR brachytherapy, okay?
Okay.
So you're giving 3 fractions or 7 gray into 3, you always mention HDR brachytherapy. So there were various suggested EBRT and high dose rate ICRT in early cervix that was suggested by the ABS recommendation that came out in 2002. So as per the ABS recommendation, you can give a whole pelvis RT at 1.8 gray per fraction. So you can give the EBRT dose of or the EBRT dose is 1.8 gray per fraction. So if you're giving a dose of 20 gray to the whole pelvis, your number of fractions for HDR brachy would be 6, and you would be giving around 7.5 gray per fraction. If you're giving a dose a dose of brachytherapy, HDR brachytherapy per fraction dose of 6.5, you need to treat 7 fractions. If you're giving 6 gray per fraction, you need to treat 8 fractions of HDR brachytherapy. These are all the combinations that have been suggested for early brachytherapy. So the other option would be to give EBRT dose of 45 gray and then treating 6 in 5 fractions, or 45 gray and then treating 5.3 in 6 fractions. But again, obviously the one that is most common is 7 gray, is treating up to 50 gray and giving 7 gray fraction of 3 fractions. For the options that were given for advanced cervical cancer were all the whole pelvis should be at least 40 gray as per the ABS recommendation. So whole pelvis dose should be at least 40 gray. So there was no option of giving 20 gray whole pelvis in as per the recommendation. But again, these recommendations we do not follow. The mostly that we follow is 50.4 gray, followed by 7 gray. Even in our fractions, even in our institution, we follow 50 gray and 25. So 2 gray per 2 gray EBRT per fraction, followed by 7 gray of 3. But as per the ABS recommendations, they have recommended 40 gray followed by 6.5 into 5 or 5.8 into 6. Other options would be 7 into 4 after 45, 6 into 5 after 45, and after 54 you can give 5.3 into 6 fractions of HDR brachytherapy. But we do not follow this. You're going to have you had a separate class on brachytherapy, right? About all the recommendations and I mean, do we start talking about brachytherapy, or do we just call it a day? We have been having a class for almost 2 hours now, 1.5 hours now. So should we call it a day, or do we talk about brachytherapy also? I think brachytherapy was already discussed, and it will be taken again as a separate class, as far as I know.
Okay, sir.
Anyone? Yeah, so we do call it a day, right?
Yes, sir.
Any other doubts as far as the evidences and treatment were concerned?
No, sir.
Okay, so I think in this week you have a class for various. So yeah, I think you have a class for field borders, and we will there will be a discussion on case taking on carcinoma on on skin essentially. So melanoma and other skin cancers will be clubbed together and will be a case discussion for skin. So do we have the presenter for that? Who's going to present on that? Have you decided? This was supposed to be on Thursday, right? If I'm not wrong. Anyway, okay then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.